Have you ever felt like there's this huge gap between what you believe on a Sunday and, well, how you actually live your life on a Monday? It's a really common feeling, and it points to this deep separation a lot of us have between our day-to-day, physical lives and our spiritual beliefs. Let's dive into why that is.
So let's just ask it straight up. Is your faith something you just kind of do on certain days, or is it who you are all the time? For so many of us, there's a real disconnect there, and that's exactly what we're going to explore.
All right, so to kick things off, let's actually define what we're talking about. What does this spiritual disconnect really look like in the wild, in our everyday lives?
For a lot of us, it's like we're living two different lives, right? On one side, you've got your church life, Sunday service, prayer meetings, Bible study, and then you've got everything else, your daily life, your job, taking care of family, paying bills, even just getting groceries. The problem is, for a ton of people, these two worlds almost never touch.
There's a term for this, being super spiritual. It sounds good, but it's really a state where what we say we believe, our spiritual doctrine, just doesn't match up with our physical, real-world life. It's a faith that sounds great in theory, but doesn't actually make a difference when Monday rolls around. But here's the kicker. This whole idea of a disconnected faith, it flies in the face of core scriptural teaching. See, faith was never supposed to be just a private thought or a feeling. It was always meant to be about action. The book of James puts it about as bluntly as you can. It says, don't just wish someone well if they're hungry. The command is to give them actual food to eat. It's a clear call for real, physical action, not just, nice thoughts.
And if you think that's direct, Matthew chapter 25 takes it to a whole other level. It says the final separation of the sheep from the goats isn't based on how perfectly they knew their doctrine or how many prayers they said. Nope. It's based entirely on one thing: how they cared for the physical needs of other people, the hungry, the thirsty, the lonely.
So the bottom line, the crucial takeaway here is this: faith without works is dead. And that's not some friendly suggestion. It's laid out like an absolute commandment. If we have the ability to do something to help in the physical world, we are meant to do it. Okay, so if the command is that clear, why isn't this the norm? Why don't we see it happening more? Well, it turns out there is a massive obstacle standing in the way, and it's probably not what you're thinking.
What could possibly be powerful enough to keep believers from living out such a fundamental part of their own faith?
According to the perspective we're exploring today, the unexpected obstacle is the government.
Now hold on, this isn't about pointing fingers at corruption or something like that. It's actually kind of ironic. The obstacle identified here is the good stuff the government does. The argument is that things like social welfare programs and state-run care, while they mean well, have unintentionally taken the responsibility for care away from the community, away from us as individuals. And this creates a major contrast. You've got what's described as God's way, practicing pure religion through free will offerings, a personal choice that comes from the heart. And then you have the government's way, a system that's paid for by forced taxation. From this viewpoint, that system, even though it helps people, becomes an impure substitute because it removes that personal, voluntary act of love and care from the whole picture.
This brings us to a really critical concept: the difference between doing God's will and doing it God's way. It's all about the what versus the how.
So let's break it down. Step one is the what. That's the will of God, right? To care for those in need. Simple enough. But step two, the how, is just as important. And according to this teaching, the right how is through the free will actions of the community, not through a big, centralized system. For it all to work as intended, you need both the what and the how to be in alignment.
So what's the fallout when we get the how wrong? What happens when we outsource our personal and community responsibility to the state? Well, the result is a society that becomes colder, more distanced. We become individualistic and disconnected from each other's very real, very physical needs.
But it doesn't have to be this way. Not at all. Let's pivot from the problem to the incredibly powerful solution. Let's talk about building a kingdom on earth.
Just imagine for a second, what could happen if the community of believers, the collective ecclesia, took this responsibility back? Not just as a bunch of scattered individuals doing their own thing, but through organized, intentional action. Together, they could literally move mountains. They could become the true salt and light, a genuine, undeniable showcase of God's power working right here on earth.
This is the vision. We're talking about a tangible expression of faith in the world. It's not just a spiritual idea anymore.
It's a physical reality, a beautiful, working showcase of God's kingdom, built by us, right here, right now.
So, where does that leave us? Where do we go from here? What is the practical next step for you and me to bridge this gap between the physical and the spiritual?
Ultimately, I think it all boils down to this one question. What is the point of any of it? What's the point of what we believe if it doesn't actually, fundamentally, change the physical world around us for the better?
If this message, this idea of closing the gap between our faith and our actions, if that resonated with you, we would genuinely love to hear from you.
You can let us know by liking this explainer, subscribing so you don't miss more content like this, and sharing it with people you think need to hear it. Honestly, the best conversations always happen down in the comments, so please leave your thoughts there.
And look, if you're ready to stop just thinking about it, and you're ready to start building, to put your faith into organized collective action, then it's time to take the next step. You can join the living network of Seekers for God's Kingdom. The link is right there for you in the description. Thanks for watching.